Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
Play Silent Hill. He may never leave you alone. Again, for PlayStation from Konami.
Hey guys, welcome to a Halloween special of the Podtendo podcast, where we're coming at you with a numbered show. Why? Because we're playing a video game on a video game podcast. If we're scared, we're going to go all month without playing a video game. That's what we do here. Scary, spooky stuff on Podtendo, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. No, that's what I said at the beginning. No. Where we analyze, reminisce, and... No. We're a review, retrospective, pop culture retrospective show. I'm Mick. I'm joined by...
Tyson.
Cool. I got there.
Yeah, you did.
Nice. Sweet. So, this month, obviously, we were watching the Silent Hill movies. We're getting prepped to play the first game. It's retro video games. That's what we do. I've never played this before. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and I've never played this before as well. So it was a good time to dive into it and see what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially since, got to start with the first one if you're going to be playing a new horror franchise.
Oh, for sure. And you got to get back to kind of like the roots. Yeah, it's a little bit old. It's a little bit jaded. The graphics are kind of terrible. But like, that's kind of the point of old video games. Sometimes you're like, it's quaint and kind of quirky. And if you can't use your imagination to like imagine things, what does he look like? I don't know what to be scared of. I can't see his face being scared. And I do believe that Silent Hill 2 is being remade. And that's coming out very shortly. So...
Yes, if not already out.
Yeah, so it may be a good primer for the series to kind of get into this before you're like, oh, let's go check out what is this series all about? What's going on? What can we expect? Well, that's what we're going to find out today as we dive into the game Silent Hill. It's developed by Konami, sold over 2 million copies. It was released February 24th, 1999. How long to beat has this game at 7 hours? eBay, oh man, $107 and up. There are some copies that go for sale at $250. So...
My goodness.
Yep, a little bit less sales and later in the cycle, I guess. Year or so before the PlayStation 2 dropped, yeah. eShop price, $9 if the PSN still exists, and that'd be for the PS3 and or PS Vita. So we're to play PS Disc, PSN, on the PS3 or PS Vita, or an emulator.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of... This one is actually a little bit trickier to find because it just seems like it's not as available.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's fine, is what it is. But sure would be nice if they would just re-release some of these games every now and then so we could just, have an actual physical copy again. But, whatever. I guess if you want to spend like $300 on a game, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't understand that, too, why they would like kind of hoard this. I mean, maybe if Silent Hill 2 is... what am I trying to say? Received well. That's it. Received well, then potentially we see them kind of do remasters of these older games. But again, just give us a collection. Put them on a disc. We love to buy those things. Silly guys.
Yeah.
So Wayback Machine. So before we talk about this game anymore, though, we do have to take a trip back in time, especially a scary, spooky one. I don't think anything scary or spooky is going to happen. So you guys can rest assured, we're just traveling back in time. We're not doing anything that'll make people afraid. So we're going to travel back on our patent Wayback Machine to February 24th, 1999. We're going to see what's on TV. And ask Tyson what would be... No, I think we just tell Tyson. We don't ask him what... It's not his birthday anymore. Top TV shows. It could be Third Watch, Roswell, Freaks and Geeks, Sopranos, Angel, and The West Wing. All started this year.
Oh, big times. That's all the shows I was lining up to watch after school.
Well, I mean, probably not. I kind of feel like... if you're watching Sopranos at your 99, your parents were... We should ask some questions. That's the point.
How did we afford HBO is what I want to know.
We just slipped the cable guy $20 when he was setting it up. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
He became part of our family for a little while.
Yeah. Yes.
Uncle Cable Guy. Top cartoons, or at least that came out this year, were Batman Beyond, Futurama, SpongeBob SquarePants, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Sonic Underground, and Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Well, some good stuff in here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know, a very solid year for like, I mean, some of these, like SpongeBob's still going.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I mean, Nickelodeon is like alive because of SpongeBob.
Basically, yeah. So, movies. So this week you could have seen 8mm. Still in theaters, you could have watched October Sky, Payback, and Blast from the Past. And if you waited a week or two, you could see Analyze This, Cruel Intentions, and Baby Geniuses.
Oh, this is a dark time.
Baby
Geniuses was released.
It doesn't sound like that great, does it? But
no, it really doesn't.
Yeah. Top video games. So this month we saw WCW Nitro, Mario Party, Final Fantasy VIII, Army Men 3D, and Beetle Adventure Racing.
Okay.
So maybe we've been here twice before?
Maybe. I mean, seeing that Final Fantasy VIII just makes me just shell shocked.
I don't care enough. Yeah, I don't care enough to pull up our Final Fantasy VIII notes to see if we mention Silent Hill. That's how little I care. So there you go. That's what the pop cultural landscape looked like back in February of 1999. So now that you're in that mindset, maybe you're like, I remember that movie. I saw some TV show. I remember watching Batman Beyond. We were probably like in day ones in like Futurama for sure, right? So.
Oh, definitely.
And Futurama was probably like this month, right? Because I think it was like after the Super Bowl or something. It was one of those weird, like when the Fox used to release shows kind of right after the Super Bowl to catch your attention. So,
cool. Oh yeah, that makes so much sense because it's like tune in to stay next. We're like, let this stupid football game end. I need to watch cartoons.
Yeah, I was like, I hate it so much. One day you will take over my life, and I just resentful for that.
Basically.
Cool. So development details. So development started in September 1996. The team that worked on the game was called Team Silent. They set out to produce a game that would appeal to a U.S. market. For this reason, a Hollywood-like atmosphere was used. As time passed, the personnel and management lost faith in the project. Eventually, the development staff decided to ignore the limits Konami's initial plan and create a game that would appeal to the emotions of the players instead of just trying to scare them. They focused on fear of the unknown as a psychological type of horror. The plot was made vague and often contradicts itself, making players reflect upon the unexplained parts. Okay. The director, Toyamo, okay, we'll go with that, was interested in UFOs, the occult, and David Lynch films, which influenced the game's development. Silent Hill is an interpretation of a small American community as imagined by the Japanese team. Hence the billboards that advertise fast food, strip clubs, gambling, and penis reduction surgery.
I did not notice those ones.
No? Oh, that's weird. It must just not be you must not be the target audience, obviously. I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, hey.
That's funny.
All right, yeah. Cool. Sometimes I leave notes for myself and then I forget, so cool. Artist Sato was younger than most of the staff and used his knowledge of computers to help create the characters' models and 3D cutscenes. He created the FMVs himself over the course of 2.5 years. He lived in the development team's office and required the use of 150 Unix-based computers after hours to render the graphics.
You know what? I think he did a good job because those FMVs do hold up.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like very freaky and weird.
Oh, certainly, and they're one of the standouts in this game. And you're like, yeah, no, this guy kind of was dialed in, and I think he wanted credit, and the only way he was going to get credit is if he did all the work. Otherwise, they weren't going to give him any credit.
Yes. Well, I'm sure there's a couple specific endings that were definitely attributed to this guy.
Yeah,
so.
Being a little bizarre. The game's budget was smaller than the big titles Japan was making at the time. They wanted to create a masterpiece, something that would hold up over time rather than a traditional sales-oriented game. The game was first shown at E3 in 1998. The US translation team changed most of the characters' names for American audiences. The name of Samael and Metatron are taken from the writings of King Solomon. Akira Yamaoka composed the music and sound effects. He based them on Twin Peaks. To differentiate the game or the sounds of the game, he opted for more of an industrial sound. And when first presented with the team, they took the sounds as game bugs. After a bit of an explanation, they agreed with his vision.
Oh, and I think that he did the right call was made.
Oh, yeah,
like,
certainly.
The creepy sounds is like...
Yep.
Modern games still rip this idea off.
Oh, certainly, and it's very unsettling, right? We'll get into it as we're kind of talking about the game a little bit more, but no, the atmosphere that this game creates is one of a kind, right? Obviously, it probably exists in other Silent Hill games, but it's definitely kind of a bit more of an intense experience, right? If you're just looking for like other horror games, especially in the survival, so like a Resident Evil at the time, this definitely is a different brand of kind of horror and tension that it creates. Controls of this game. So you move around the world with tank controls, where up makes you walk forward and down makes you walk backwards. This control layout helps you continue movement when the camera angle changes. I wrote that and then had to. Oh boy, that's not good for dyslexic brain. You can collect weapons, keys, and healing items. Your inventory is in caps, so you don't have to worry about item management. You explore the world with an extensive use of a map that Harry makes notes on. Using it will help you keep you oriented and explore the vastly foggy city and subsequent side areas. Okay. Being a survival horror game, you'll have to learn to dodge certain enemies and conserve ammo on higher difficulties.
Yeah. That being said, the game does give you quite a bit amount of ammo.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're on lower difficulties or you just kind of want to like use a gun through most of this, just play on easy.
Yeah, the streets, because they're giant, it's not terrible to like zip around and like avoid most combats. You can kill the occasional enemy, that's fine. The school is possible with like minimal kills, but then the hospital, some of the nightmare areas, and like definitely the last maybe 2 areas of the game, it almost just has become a shooting spree. Yeah.
The strategy of just like my boy high stepping around everybody like he's LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Going for like a touchdown. The strategy fell off after a certain point. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So with that, controls. They're old. They kind of add to the experience, and like people will say, they suck. They're terrible. But they're the best they have to work with. And again, as you're moving around, and like the camera does move in some pretty intense angles to try and like get you psychologically at times. It's kind of nice. Keeps you oriented, right? As well as just kind of adds to the horror, right? If you could freely move around, it wouldn't be as scary.
Oh, definitely.
Right? And it's part of the mechanics of the game. So it's not bad by any means. It's just not modern, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we grew up playing tank control games. I don't really have a problem with it. I know some people like just cannot get their brain wrapped around it. For me, we used to be that way, and then you just play enough of them, and your brain will eventually just like pick it up, where it's like you like. Yeah, and I don't know. I spent the first little chunk of the game just kind of getting myself oriented. Right, I would just avoid enemies instead of like engaging with them, just so I didn't have to like be too clunky. But by the time you're like done the school or you're on to the hospital or whatever, it's like, it's you kind of like you don't even really need to think. Your hand just kind of just like moves your character. Oh, I got to move right and move forward.
Yeah, let's just give it time. It's not the most intuitive design, but once you figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, cool. And the game is simple enough in the beginning and kind of like almost hard to die that like they give you that wiggle room, right? Here's how you work, and they don't really ever challenge you that much in terms of controls. Maybe 1 or 2 of the bosses. But for the most part, you can kind of just dummy your way around and run and jump, and you have lots of healing items. Oh, you hit by an item or an enemy? Oh, it's fine. Just get up and heal, move on.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. First memories of this game. So I knew of this game, but since I didn't own it or it didn't come organically into my life, this is the first time I'm playing it. Okay. It feels kind of like a Resident Evil, or I was a Resident Evil fanboy, so I kind of feel like this was like the rival horror series, and people would be like, oh, it's better. And I was like, oh, no, man, I love Leon and Claire Redfield. They're the best. no, stop it. And I had to keep playing the terrible Resident Evil games and watch those movies instead of trying out this game. Hooray. I maybe played through the opening haunted alley section like one time. And I was like, it seems kind of weird and not up my alley at this point. And like, tank controls. Yeah. Yeah. So, bad. Should have tried it more. But I'm glad this is my first experience and I get to talk about it because I think it was all in all not pretty good. Not bad, right? So, yourself, any first memories?
No, knew of this game. Always heard it's spoken in high regard. Never played it. I think I played like maybe the first little bit or whatever. Only to the point where like I'd wake up in the
literally you opened the beginning. You got down that scary hallway, woke up in like the coffee shop, and that was it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
so that's about the most I have ever played of this game, and this is me finally playing it all the way through. So
awesome, cool,
yeah,
sweet. That's fun. I like when that kind of happens. Like, it's like, I mean, obviously we grew up together, so like it's not that surprising when I guess stuff like that happens. Cool. Story of this game. After the death of his wife, Harry Mason takes his adopted daughter, but she doesn't know that, to a vacation spot of Silent Hill. On the way there, he swerves out of the way of a little girl and crashes his car. He awakens in a foggy, desolate streets of Silent Hill.
Yeah. It's always with a car crash.
Yeah, these poor guys. Poor guys. Yeah, cool. That was the beginning. So then what happens? Level notes. This is our Let's Play section. So this is us playing through the game. And we'll talk about each little area. So Arrival. So you can explore the streets of Silent Hill. Through the fog, we find a light, a radio, and see a little girl head down an alley. We explore the twisted alley and see that the camera gives us odd angles, creepy music, and a disturbing discarded items, including stuff like wheelchairs from a hospital. After we find a note, we find ourselves in a nightmare alley being attacked by monsters.
Yeah. I mean, kind of a freaky. The way they work the fog is fantastic. With the draw distance and everything, it just works so good that.
Absolutely, yeah. Best use. Snow levels, scary fog, perfect.
Yep. 100%.
Awesome.
Sets that atmosphere and gives you that sense of like.
Oh, it dives right away. It kind of shows you like this is the twisted world. It kind of just makes you feel uneasy. It's genuinely kind of scary playing through this first little part of the game. I'm like, I know nothing's going to happen because I don't have a weapon yet, and they should give me a weapon if they are going to kill me. But it's still kind of like genuinely well done. It's a great opening in a video game, right? One of the better ones, one of the more iconic ones, and even recreated fairly faithfully in the movie.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
And that was like a big draw. People were like, oh, they redid it almost like shot for shot. And again, we were talking about like how the director brought this game in and said, look how the camera moves, guys. Like, look what this team was doing to try and like get inside our heads. And that's how I want our cameras to move. That's how I want our booms to work, right? That's how I want these films to be kind of shot in action, right? So done excellent well. And if it's too much for you, kid, keep on moving. Maybe Silent Hill for you. This is an adult scary game.
Very much so.
Stupid kids. Go play your Wario Lands 3. Figure that out. You won't be able to figure it out ever.
No one will ever figure that game out.
No one will ever figure it out. Old Silent Hill. So we awaken in a diner with a cop. She gives us a gun. We fight a monster. And we are now free to explore the foggy streets. A note tells us to check a doghouse, which gives us a key and access to the street where the school is located.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. I mean, even if you're just running around, you can kind of figure out where to go. Yeah. This is, I think, is this like once you go into that room? Is that the first save room that we come across?
You can save at the restaurant or like the diner, whatever it is.
Right. Okay, yeah. Never mind. For some reason,
and then you're kind of like running around the streets. Yeah. Organically, there are some notes, and you happen to look at one. It says "Go to the school," right? It's from Alessa's or your daughter, whatever, Heather's notebook. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And yeah, it's not bad. It's, again, if you give yourself the time and say, I'm going to solve this, it kind of works. There's not that many places to go. Kind of orients you with the map. And you're like, whew, all right, cool. Also, the biggest streets in the whole world, Silent Hill. I don't know how you guys got zoning for like streets that are like 5 cars wide, but good job.
And then plus like a sidewalk, and there's some grass, and then a sidewalk.
And like the intersections are like massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Middlewich Elementary School. Inside the school, we explore very dark, creepy corridors. We are tasked at completing a chemistry puzzle and a music puzzle to get the keys to the clock tower. Once the door is open, we can head through a corridor and make our way into the Nightmare School.
Yeah, kind of freaky. There's like the little like knifey guys that like stab you right in the junk. Those guys are jerks, and they move fast, and they're kind of hard to kind of maneuver around. So I tend to just shot them all in the face whenever I saw one.
Oh, certainly. As soon as I got into the hallway, because the way this game works, I guess we didn't mention that, is you have to play it with sound on, because the mechanic of this game is you have a radio, and it plays static and different types of music when monsters are near. So you have to listen to this like white noise of this game, and then as the static grows, oftentimes it'll be associated with again industrial sounds, like it sounds like clinging. Some monsters moan. So without the sound on, you actually don't know if you're safe or not in a room, which definitely adds to the element of horror that this game can control, right? Because you can't turn it off and like put on a podcast or listen to a song. You're kind of stuck being in this world, right? And some of the horrible sounds that some of these monsters make when you get in a room, and I'm just like, oh, I just want to shoot them so badly. I want them to stop moaning at me. I want this like terrible synth music to just go away. I just want my static. I want nothing. Yeah.
And then when you do, it's so satisfying to hear that silence.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Nothing.
And then when it creeps up, and there are some rooms that there's nothing in, but just the music is playing. Oh, the tension it creates, the build. The beginning of this game is just absolutely a beautiful masterwork of early horror games, right? And given an hour, 2 hours, play through this, at least to the end of the school, right? I would say, don't look anything up. Try and do it yourself. It's creepy. It's solid. I had the most fun playing this first maybe hour or two of this game, getting through this part, getting through the next section, this Nightmare School. So in the courtyard, we find the Mark of Samael, and is now a twisted version of the school. Horrible monsters litter the hallways. We are tasked to find items to help explore the haunted school. After solving a drain puzzle, we gain access to the boiler room, and we have to fight our first boss. The boss here is Twin Bite. So you have to shoot him when his mouth opens and unload your shotgun to kill him. So, and like I said, this first part of the game, just trying your best to kind of solve all the puzzles. Maybe look up puzzle solutions if you're really getting kind of stuck. Like, I don't know how you solve the piano puzzle.
Oh, that was the puzzle that I was like, nope, looking at a guide.
The rest you can kind of figure, like, oh, okay, that's what works. And like, there's only so many rooms, and I have these items. Like, what can I do with them, right? How can I process it? Navigation is kind of scary, horrifying. But again, manageable if you have a sense of exploration and you kind of just give into the horror a little bit and want to allow yourself to be scared. This first part of the game, oh, it's just absolutely just pound for pound an amazing horror experience. The rest of the game, and like there's some parts where I'm like, no, like all in all it's good, but I was never more creeped out, terrified, just into the experience as I was that first day playing through this up into the end of the Nightmare School where I kind of saved, and then when I came back to it weeks later, the novelty had just worn off for some reason.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely the strongest part of the game because then it just starts to meander or whatever. Sure. This part, I feel like it has a really like strong, like, okay, we're doing this and then this and
and I guess it's the first time of it showing you like this is the scary Silent Hill, but like, oh, it gets much worse when we have the nightmare version of the world appear up. Oh boy, yeah, right. And then it just kind of like, oh, it just repeats this. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it kind of just falls off a little bit.
Okay.
But
cool.
This first part, textbook.
Yeah.
Textbook.
Awesome. Cool. So. Nice. From there, though, we head to Old Silent Hill, Part 2. The sound of the church bells can be heard, and exploring the next part of the city sees us finding some keys, a church, are given some items by an old lady, as long as you don't forget to pick them up and then run around for like 20 minutes, and you're like, you gotta go back and get them. That's unfortunate. You can use these items to gain access to the next part of the city.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit more meandering, but still for the most part, it's like it's moving along. I'm still digging it so far.
Yeah. No, so far, very good, I think. Still kind of going. On a central Silent Hill is the next area. So on a second playthrough, you can find a chainsaw at this part of the game. But other than that, you just kind of make your way through Central Silent Hill, and make your way to the hospital. Neat.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point, like, you have a really good sense of kind of how the game plays and what's kind of to be expected. You can't just be skipping dialogue like I usually do.
Yeah.
That's usually my number one flaw in these games is like, man, where was I supposed to learn about this? Like the 3 characters that told you to look for that thing.
Yeah, that really boring story that old man in that church told you, and you're like, fine.
Yeah.
Fine, yeah.
But if you're finding the dialogue a little boring, there's always a good old fashioned
Oh yeah,
walkthrough.
There's a walkthrough. I recommend. I could find it if anyone is interested. Reach out to me on YouTube or Twitter or something like that. No, not Twitter. Email, or just look for yourself. Anyways, it's very simple. It's clean, and basically you can just kind of like scroll through it, and just it like highlights the key items, and you're like, I missed a couple healing items. I'm okay with that. Box of shotgun shells. Yeah, I can live with myself. And you're like, this green key. And you're like, well, I don't have the green key, and I'm further. Oh, okay, I gotta go back and get this. Okay, cool. So that's how I kind of played. I just kind of like lazily kind of played through the list or whatnot, right? So now, however, though, we're on to Alchemia Hospital. So we meet a doctor, explore a basement, and restore power to the elevator. Searching each floor yields no results. However, after exploring floors 2 and 3, we now see that there's a floor 4 button on the elevator, which gives us access to the Nightmare Hospital.
Yeah, I swear they do this a couple times throughout the games where all of a sudden, like, you've checked a spot a couple times. Like, in the school, you'd walk into the guy or the girl's bathroom or the guy's bathroom, and then you'd walk out and all of a sudden you're on the second floor for some reason. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it just, sometimes this game just messes with your expectations or different ways of doing things, and it, like, can kind of mess with you, but it also like it's fun. I like the way they be creative with it.
Oh,
like,
for sure. And like there's no more satisfying feeling in this than getting to like a long hallway of some sort with like 20 doors and only having one door open to you. Like that sound of like, this door is jammed, it won't open, is so satisfying. Just being like, oh, not another horrible place I have to explore. I'd love it. It's great.
Yeah.
From there, we get to the Nightmare Hospital. So we now must... Oh, and sorry, the feature of having to check floors 2 and then 3 and then get back to the elevator and see a mysterious 4th floor happen. I'm like, it's good. Again, it kind of keeps the tension a little bit alive. I think the Nightmare Hospital kind of loses it a little bit. But up to that point, I'm like, this is creepy. I don't want to go there again. So Nightmare Hospital. So we now must explore the horrible hospital. We make our way down from the floors, or through the floor 4 stories... having trouble on a couple words today. Collecting keys, fighting nurses and doctors. We have to find the 4 color crests to solve a color puzzle. In the basement, we meet a nurse who seems to be unaffected by the Nightmare Hospital. We get a headache and awaken in the normal world. Then there, an old lady is back, and she gives us a key to the antique shop. Again, don't forget it on the table. Ooh, Nightmare Hospital.
Yeah. The little color puzzles kind of like meh.
Yeah.
Actually, I think from here on out, there's not a lot of good, clever puzzles. Like even just the water puzzle in the
with the stupid
school.
ball.
Like,
yeah.
It's like that works better for me than this. Go around collecting some colored crests and then put them in the right spot.
They try to be really cute, and like they write these. So the piano puzzle earlier, there's this poem about these 5 birds. And they're different colors, and they land different lengths, and they fly different heights. And you go to the piano, and you see these bloody fingerprints on the piano, and you have to play the right notes. I don't know how you solve that. This one, again, you get all these different puzzles, and then there's a little poem, and you have to read through it, and you have to like match the key element with the color, like the blue sky or like the pink popcorn or something, and that's how you open the door. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But this area kind of lost attention because the enemies, creepy nurses and doctors that come after you, they seemed a little more overpowered and bigger, and I just ended up shooting and killing all of them. There was like, I'm definitely not farting around. If I see when I kill them, they don't respawn. Why would I leave them in the hallways as a threat? So I just kind of cleared out the hospital, and I think that kind of starts taking away the horror elements a little bit. I like that tension of like, well, I'll just dodge this zombie, right? That's what Resident Evil, I find the original games have that tension, is I'm like, okay, there's a zombie in this hallway, but I have room to run around, right? Versus if you just kill everything, it's kind of, I don't know, it takes away from it a little bit, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also like, I think...
Whereas I think Resident Evil, the remake did such a beautiful job with the Crimson Heads, where it kind of punishes you for killing, right? The zombies are less of a threat than the Crimson Head, and if you kill a zombie to make your life easier, it might come back and make it harder, right? I think that's a beautiful mechanic to kind of destroy the tension. In this game, you just kill everything, and that's gone. Now, again, it was before, only a couple years, right, before they figured that out. But obviously, they just didn't have that technology, right? So it exists. It's just one of those things. I'm like, I have a boomstick. Now nothing hurts me. Cool. Awesome. Well, no more tension in the scary game.
Yeah. But I think it's I mean, it works. And unfortunately, that's the thing is, like, once you start kind of getting a decent arsenal, you can just start shooting everything and killing everything, and it's super easy. But I guess that's also kind of like, that's why it encourages you to, if you want it that play style, maybe playing the harder difficulties, then you are more encouraged to, like, I really shouldn't waste any of these bullets. I do have to just run around these people. So I think both play styles are totally valid. I do lean a little bit more to, like, I like to dodge around them until I get frustrated, and then it's like, okay, I'm getting all the ammo and I'm just murdering until I can't, like, just, like, I'm tired of it.
I think I avoided most of the little guys at the school for the most part. Like, I left a couple of the hallways because they did keep respawning, and I was like, I can, like, just get to that door, which definitely builds the tension. Whereas, yeah, I think I kind of went away. I was just like, I have so much extra ammo now. Like, I had 200 extra bullets for my handgun, and I was like, well, if I'm collecting more, it's just being wasted, so I might as well use them. So I was kind of one of those, like, I'm trying not to be too cool to use and actually, like, end the game with, like, not all the ammo kind of thing. So I was like, I'll kind of blow it away, and on easy it was just too much, right? So from there, though, however, was that the end of our conversation? Want to move on?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. Central Silent Hill Part 2. So you run and turn left to get to the antique shop. Here, Harry meets Sybil and enters a creepy hallway. On the other side, we find ourselves in the nightmare realm again. Dahlia may show up and tell us to stop the seals at the lighthouse and amusement park.
Yep. More running around for running around's sake.
Yeah, cool. So Nightmare Central Hill. Yeah, I don't know why I keep reading that because I've said all the words. Now we experience the cold steel, rusted streets of the Nightmare Realm. You should check your map and run back to the hospital. In the mall, we get a rifle and fight a bug, which allows us to escape the mall and head to the hospital. There, Lisa tells us how to access the resort area of the town. Outside, we fight the bug, who's now a moth, on the roof across the street. We still have to escape this part of the town before we appear outside of the school.
Yeah, a little more action-packed section. Kind of gave me Resident Evil vibes in this area.
It's because of, like, the rock, like the dam, bam, 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 because they just always have music blasting at you. And I think it does take away a little bit of the tension, although it does definitely, like, ramp up the intensity and just, like, how scary all the streets feel. Because you've been trained up to this point that music is bad. And now the fact they're just playing music while you're running around, it kind of always feels like there's a monster nipping at your heels, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, then you fight a moth, and we move on. So sewers. So connecting to the resort area. So we bust through a gate and explore the creepy sewers. At the far end, we get a map and a key, which gives us access to the resort area.
Yeah, I figured the sewers would be a lot longer of a section.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it's like, this is a great horror area. And then it's like, nope, you're done. It's like, woof. Happy I don't have to go through that again.
Yeah, like I got...
Felt like you dodge a bullet, right?
I think I missed the key the first time. So, like, went through it all, figured it out, got the map, ran around another time, and then I was like, oh, I need a key. And then found the key and then left. And I was like, man, I spent 3 times as long as I needed to be. Like, I spent 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, it's like a 3-minute section. But only because I kept making a mistake.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Silent Hill Resort Area. So here we can complete the rest of the game. Oh, wait. Here we can complete the rest of the end game. Okay. Requirements by rescuing a doctor at a bar, finding drugs in the general store, and then having the doctor steal a vial that was hidden in a motorcycle. If you do that, you unlock the best ending in the game. Congratulations. Good job. If you have the bottle from earlier, and I think it's in, like, the school or hospital, and you fill it with some red liquid that I think is in the hospital, you can get the true canon ending. So those are the 2 requirements to get the best endings in this game. So if you're following along, that's what you got to do. Find a bike and put some red stuff in a bottle.
Yep. Need the red liquid for some reason.
Yeah, a glophodus or something like that, I think is what it's called, which is supposed to be like an old ancient herb that fights off like demons and witchcraft. So
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about that.
It's Silent Hill Resort Area. Nightmare Silent Hill Resort Area. Ooh. Once across the bridge, you explore, or you feel the intense feeling. What? Oh, once across the bridge, you explore the intense feeling streets, run, duck, dive, dip, and dodge around the rusted walkways to find an old boat. There, Sybil is there, and Dahlia shows up to tell us something. Sybil leaves and we head to the lighthouse. There we see a little girl, and then she leaves. This sends us back to the boat, and we then take off after Sybil to the amusement park. I think this part I also just ran away from monsters, because there's like more dogs and like flying guys, and you're in these little tiny walkways, and I think I just kind of booked it through this area. So this is the one other section I kind of saved ammo. I guess anytime I'm exploring the streets, I kind of just save ammo. Unless something's like right behind me, then maybe I'll like hit it with my shotgun quick, but I basically like will 2 or 3 shells kind of per section. I just try and make it as intense as possible and run.
If I can run somewhere instead of engaging in combat, I will just run.
Yeah, that's smart.
Like it's just faster than dealing, like, cause sometimes, like, I think even with the flying bat creatures, they take like 3 to 4. So like 3 and then knocks them down, and then the 4th one to kill them or whatever. Man, how long it takes 4 shots to hit.
Well, because they like fly past you and then they're gone, and you have to kind of like wait for the sound of fuse. They're coming back, and you have to like at the right time like pull your gun up and shoot them. Yeah, no, it's definitely an experience.
You just run,
Yeah. Cool. From there though, we are where we're going. Sewers connecting to the amusement park. So we find our ways through the nightmare streets. We find some creepy but short sewer sections. You just kind of run straight, and then you're out. And you're like, aha, done.
Again,
Yeah.
You're like, you get built up me last time. Like this time for sure, you're gonna have something scary, or like a boss monster, or like an alligator or something in here.
And anything that's not just a run and turn. Yeah. Cool section, but wasted. Awesome. So Lakeside Amusement Park. There is no map of this creepy rusted area. I kind of just ran to the right and quickly found the carousel. The walkthrough mentioned a building that had a save point, some collectibles. I couldn't find it. I was like, oh, but I need to get to the carousel. Here, Sybil shows up and is possessed by evil. If you throw the water bottle at her that has like the Aglophidus, a parasite is released and you save her. If you don't, however, you have to fight her and kill her.
Yep. Definitely something you could easily have missed if you were not paying attention to it. So I feel like early gamers before walkthroughs were like handy. It's like, imagine you're like, wait, I can save her. It's like, I'm sure there was like that light bulb moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, certainly. Cool, sweet. From there, though, that is basically the end of the game. So we can't return to any other areas. We're now in a section called Nowhere. Lisa wakes us up talking about her being scared. You move into an elevator, and now you must explore kind of a warped evil hospital. You don't have a map here, but there are only like 1 to 2 doors available at any one time. So if you kind of destroy a few enemies, it takes away the scary atmosphere. You can kind of just run through the hallways, solve it. It's areas you've seen before, but they're all kind of mixed together. So you can kind of build a bit of a mental map, but you know how this hallway works, and it's not as bad. People were like, this is the hardest part, and I used all my ammo up. There's not that many enemies. I think the enemies are pretty simple for the most part. Clear them out, you're free. And you just have to kind of explore this, take your time. But I think I did it all at one sitting with no issue.
Yeah, and it's pretty wide hallways too. Like, I mean, I don't remember like ever being like, oh no, I'm cornered. I felt like the school was a little bit more claustrophobic. Actually, no, the hospital was the most claustrophobic.
Well, because the hallways, the grate's almost missing, and it's like 2 narrow walkways on the outside of the room, which just, makes it a bit more difficult, right? So,
yep.
Destroy, where are we at? So, you have to solve a puzzle with a keypad. One about the horoscope monsters. Now, what is that called?
Zodiac?
Zodiac creatures, horoscope monsters, cool. One about an electric key, and then towards the end, we come across a room that represents Alessa's childhood It shows off some hidden story elements, and after collecting 5 items in this area, you're able to access the end room.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Oh, and I guess the only other thing we didn't mention is Lisa, the nurse, at this point kind of does mention that she's scared, something's happening, and she mentions close towards the end of this area that she isn't alive. She's just like all the other nurses. She just didn't realize that she was dead. So due to her kind of that, she goes because she's scared to get some comfort from Harry Mason, and Harry Mason, being the upstanding man, pushes her into the wall, which causes like this like terrifying music to play, a great CGI scene of blood trickling down her face, and as she comes in kind of like crying, wanting comfort from us, from like a living person that she's thought she found comfort in while she's dealing with her grief and her death, we just leave her, and then she's gone, and I'm like, wow, Harry, you're kind of a jerk.
Yeah, good guy Harry.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, rooting for this guy to win.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad we're also so kind. And oh yeah, I was like, bad luck. Lisa, feel bad for you. Did explain why you were in the nightmare hospital if you were dead though. So cool.
Yeah.
And
true.
Do we have to tell the mythology of this game? Like, is that a thing I should do?
If you want, I mean, be my guest.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
Oh, we'll keep going. I'm just gonna kind of keep it brief. I will kind of maybe talk about it after the fact. Anyway, so yeah, and end game. So we have 2 bosses here. So if we didn't get the doctor, the Alglophitis or whatever it is, we have to fight a light version of Alessa. So the little girl that's been running around the city, we find out was actually placing seals to try and stop the nightmare version from seeking into, or actually trying to just stop Silent Hill in general, right? But her tortured psyche of the horrors that she faced when she was alive, right, kind of seeped through into this nightmare area. That's why we see the school where she's called a witch and kids made fun of her. I believe she was even sexually assaulted by a janitor in the school. At least in the movie that was the case, and I think there's something about that in the game.
Jesus.
You see that, so then this cult was also trying to use her body and her magic powers to summon some type of god. During the trauma, there was an explosion with a boiler in her house. She ended up having burn wounds in the basement where Lisa, the nurse, took care of her. She then suffered, and to end her suffering at one point, she split her psyche. Kind of this bad part was going to live inside this charred husk that was still alive in the hospital, and the rest would be sent as a little girl outside. And that's where Alessa, or the little girl that Harry Mason was taking care of, she was then called back to Silent Hill to try and reform the 2 parts. That's kind of the story of Silent Hill. Any questions?
Tons.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hopefully I wrapped up a little bit, but essentially we have these 2 endings so you can fight. So the burnt version of Alessa that was like still being forced to be alive in the bottom of this hospital that caused this kind of this horrific nightmare world to kind of leak out. And the little girl, our daughter, who now is like just Alessa, I guess, is like child form, can become light Alessa, which we fight. Which goes one ending. Or if we do throw the material to her, the form, I think the light girl shows up, but then like an incubus, this evil demon crawls out of her, and we have to fight this lightning shooting incubus. I can't speak about the Alessa fight because I fought the incubus monster.
Yeah, the giant monster that flies around. Yeah, I definitely aimed for the good ending, so I do not know the bad endings.
Yeah, that's fair, right? We can't talk about those things. So, but this one, he kind of fires lightning at you. If you do get hit, make sure to heal right away because it'll be like 2 shots, you're dead. But if you just kind of keep moving a little bit and do a little bit of shooting, it's not too bad. It's pretty relatively simple. You should have enough ammo. Like if you have 25 rifle bullets, you hit all. I think that kills him. At this point, I had like 50. So as long as I hit every other shot, he died. And then the ending. Great, cool. So we have 4 endings in this. Wow. Actually, I think 5, because there's like a joke one about aliens.
I think so.
But that can only be played through the second time. So the bad ending, so you defeat Light Alessa, and you stand in the crumbling Silent Hill. The end. Bad ending plus is Sybil's alive, but it's the bad ending. Good endings. So you were given a baby from Alessa, and she uses her powers to help you escape Silent Hill with the little baby. And the good ending plus is just Sybil is there. So.
Yep. And she doesn't just like die a very painful death.
Yeah, cool.
So
the story of Silent Hill was a cult that pushed drugs in this resort town to try and summon a dark god, tortured a little girl to the point where she used her psychic powers and was burnt alive, but created some type of weird nightmare realm that no one could escape from. Her second half is pushed out of her bodies to try and give her some relief, drawn back years later by the cult, and the second half is actually trying to stop. So the seal of Metatron, who I believe is an archangel, was placed all over the city trying to stop the darkness, but it actually kind of had backfired and amplified like the horrors and the nightmares that she faced. Again, hence why the school was bad, the hospital was kind of a place of evil. And we're tricked by the cult leader Dahlia, to try and stop the little girl, stop the seals, and ultimately take her protections away and almost end the world. But we kind of then save it at the end, and we get a baby.
Yeah.
Cool. Sick.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. All right, so cool. So current thoughts. This game is, I said, incredible. Wow. It is such creepy atmosphere, and the old gameplay and graphics just adds to the creepy feeling. You never truly feel safe in the game. Even in the safe room, you kind of just... Safe room, you are an awful Lego man. Oh, yeah, okay, you do look like an awful Lego man. But kind of helps keep you in the world. It's great. The puzzles can be a bit much, and without a guide, I think you'd be hard-pressed to get through them at all, right? This is one of those ones like, I only have one game. I play it for 6 months. It's this game, because I'm trying to solve everything by hand. Nope, I don't have that ability. Exploration in this world was kind of what you expected, right? It wasn't too much combat. It wasn't too hard. You could run through a lot of stuff. The first hour of the game is incredible. I won't forget that first afternoon that I turned on this game. I kind of sat there and played through the dark elementary school. I thought that was just incredible. You kind of have to listen to music. It just builds to everything. And the stories is bonkers, and it just gets more bonkers. Without 7 YouTube videos, I would have no idea what was going on. So thank you to the 7 hours of YouTube videos I had to watch to explain this plot of this crazy bonkers game. Tyson, I kind of just jumped through everything from the end of the game to the weird story to the current thoughts. Ending of the game. Did you like the ending of the game?
It's fine. I don't love this game. I think it's fine.
Okay.
It's like, but I also I don't really love horror games. They don't really a lot of them just don't do it for me. I don't be like, oh, this is so scary. Mm-hmm. Honestly, same with this game. There was never a time where I was like, wow, I'm so scared. But it's I'm also playing in hindsight with on HD when it's
sure.
I feel like if you're playing this on a CRT and you weren't, brainwashed with all the violence and stuff that I've seen. So it's it's fine. It does an interesting thing. I like the little atmosphere that they did. I think it's cool, little alternating gameplay and different environments, and everything's constantly changing, and it makes this world feel alive for it. That's all fantastic stuff, and I think as a game this really holds up. It just story wise, plot wise, polish wise, it's just rough. So it's it's fine. It's fine. It's a good game. I think everybody should at least have some experience with it, but I'm not going to put this on my pedestal of I need to bring this if I'm ever stuck on a desert island.
Yeah, that's fair.
Game.
No, that's fair. Okay, cool. Yeah. Again, maybe play the beginning of it if you'd want a kind of a scary experience. Be oh, that's what it's about, and then watch a video and be oh, okay, cool. But other than that, it exists. It's there. Cool. Endings, Kate, your current thoughts, mythology you're on board with. You're happy with the story, no questions. What would I change? I don't know if I could change anything. Maybe change the difficulties of the puzzles. It's a good idea.
Yeah, or at least have the puzzles make more sense. The blood on the piano keys.
Yeah.
It's making me think that the solution should involve this blood on these piano keys, but it actually has nothing to do with the blood on the piano keys.
Yeah.
It's maybe clean up all that puzzles.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Cool, sweet. Are you buying it? In all my research, I don't recall any fan theories about this game. It's kind of self-explanatory. People have kind of broke through what the meanings of all the elements of the game are. They found lots of Easter eggs at this point. There is the discussion around it. Everyone's kind of agreeing that's what's happening. So if you're interested, there's lots of videos that discuss the lore. Go watch them. There's really nothing I can bring to the table. Is there any specific story element or theories that you have?
No,
Okay.
no. You know what? I think by the end of it, it's answered a lot of your questions.
Sure.
It's just like, this is like, I always thought that this game was different than what it was, and then you play it and you're like, oh, it's kind of just a story about like this crazy town. It's kind of like a vortex of evil, and like this family or this guy looking for like his like sort of daughter. And it's like, that's kind of all it is. I always thought that there would be like this like deeper story about like what it truly means to be like what loss is or whatever. It's like, nah, it doesn't really touch on that. Just kind of like, hey, we're telling you the story about this crazy town. What do you think?
Yeah. No, it is kind of a little bit vague. It's one of those things, I don't know, people that are into it are really into it, guys. Remember the first movie, people were like, oh, it's so depth and insightful, and here's all these meanings, and that's kind of what this game is. Like, people love this game, want to talk about it. You do want to kind of pry into all the nooks and corners, right, and see, oh, there's moths on the wall of Alessa's room when she was a kid, so she collected bugs, hence why one of the monsters was like a manifestation of a bug, right? Because they were important to her. Oh, cool, awesome, right? So you can kind of tie in all those things, and again, there's lots of Easter eggs, there's lots of stuff explained, but it's just because there is that deeper layer, people love diving into it, right? So if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But if it is something that kind of sparks your interest, there's a cool community, lots of stuff to kind of dive through. It's definitely more of a impassioned group of people that want to explore and find and solve things together, versus like the Resident Evil community that's like a bunch of bros that I feel like are chugging beers and just being racists. That's me. Come on.
They're definitely like the Transformers fans of the world.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the Transformers fans of the world,
or the Fast and Furious fans of the world. That they're like, yeah, dude, these are like sick movies, bro.
Oh, sweet, cool. See that Leon has a rocket launcher as his base weapon in the new game. What are we doing?
Remember that time like Chris punches a fucking rock? That's so sick. I want to be able to punch rock.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Sweet. That's it. Silent Hill. That's all right. Spooky. I mean, it was like scarier than the Castlevania 64.
As for scariest games, I think that is this the scariest game that we've played? Maybe minus that Mario 64, a couple like that scary piano.
Oh yeah.
I was like, no, as for scary games, I'm like, I think this one's probably one of the top of our list, because I think this is a scarier game than Resident Evil.
Oh,
Resident Evil
certainly.
Isn't really scarier.
No, they do the psychological elements and horror very, very well in this game, and it's spooky.
Definitely.
Whereas it's kind of like RE is almost more of like cheesy Hammer horror films.
100%.
Right.
Like that's your renting a blockbuster movie, eating some popcorn, drinking some soda, and eating some pizza.
This is a more like avant-garde, creepy French cinema. You're like,
you're definitely like drinking red wine while you're watching your body horror and being like, yes, I can appreciate this.
Yeah, cool, sweet. So that's it, guys. Done our Halloween game. We watched a couple bad movies this month. Good stuff, but. Final cultural significance here. Halloween. What does Tyson get to do? Tyson gets to play a game called Tyson's Perfect Little Halloween. It's exciting. So at this point, we looked at 2 films that were based on games. We did some things. Try and remember. I think we talked about horror movie ratings, and Silent Hill Revelations was terrible. And then we looked at... I don't even know what we looked at in the first movie. See? Very unforgettable. So, since there's no clear through line between any of these 3 episodes, today is Halloween, and we're going to have a Tyson play a game called Tyson's Perfect Little Halloween. There are 4 categories that he'll have to go through in order to determine which elements make up a perfect Halloween night for him. Are you ready to play and have your perfect little Halloween set up for you?
I am.
All right. So what's the most quintessential part of any Halloween? You can't have Halloween without the costume, right? So we've got 2 categories here. All right. Tyson, of these 2, what would you rather wear? A sexy cat or a movie character from a horror movie? So that could be anyone from Jason to Freddy to anyone you really wanted.
I would lean more movie character from a horror franchise.
Okay, sure. Okay, so that's moving on. In the finals, is that going to go up against movie character from other than a horror or a topical costume based on a current event?
I am a sucker for always being James Bond every year.
Okay.
That is my go-to because, like, hey, I can just wear a suit. Sick.
Right.
So I typically go movie character other than horror because it's kind of like it's a costume.
Sure.
Who cares? But the topical one, I know sometimes those are a winner, but sometimes I find that those costumes date really well.
Certainly, yeah,
So,
big time. I remember in that there's one I have saved on my phone, and it was like I think it's a Seattle Seahawk with like a Packer hanging over his like a back, like another guy in a jersey with a football, and I was like, what the fuck is that about? I think it was like a blown call on a Monday night before Halloween, and someone turned that into a costume, and I was like, man, that is obscure. Okay, cool. So you're gonna go movie character other than horror wins this, and now that versus a horror movie character. What's winning? James Bond. You're just gonna be James Bond.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's usually my go-to. Right. It's like if I just wear a suit, I even have like a BB Walther PPK. So I'm like,
yeah, perfect.
and I even got martini glasses and everything. I'm like, I'm 95% of the way here.
Perfect. So Tyson is going as James Bond. Perfect. But now we have to ask all that trick or treating. They ask, they say, what do you want? It's anything. And you're like, oh shit. He's got choices though. Does he want a Reese cup or does he want homemade caramel corn?
What's caramel corn? Is that the little ball of popcorn with the? There has been a thing I've been obsessed with. I had it when I was a kid. I don't know who did it. Someone gave out like it was caramel popcorn.
Yeah.
But in the inside it had like a already melted marshmallow.
Oh yeah, sure.
So like you bit into it and it was just like soft,
warm,
delicious goodness.
gooey, yeah.
It was. I have thought about it.
Okay.
Every year of my life.
All right, so homemade popcorn, caramel. That's
it's going on. It's going on.
So in the second bracket, we do have a play in here. So would you rather have Skittles or a wink and a condom from a flirtatious older lady?
Oh my goodness, Skittles and a wink and a condom from a flirtatious older lady.
So what is better, Skittles or a wink from a flirtatious older lady?
I think in my older age, I had to go with the wink.
Yeah. Okay.
And a condom.
Okay. Right.
It's like that one's like one of those ones you're like, well, still got it.
Yeah, perfect. So that one's there, or a full chocolate bar of your choice. So maybe so what's your favorite chocolate bar versus the old lady or the flirtatious lady situation?
Well, the older lady can be any older lady that I can imagine in my mind. So I can imagine Monica Bellucci.
Perfect. Okay, so you're gonna go with that. So now Monica Bellucci giving you a wink while you're out trick or treating, or that caramel corn.
I'm going to that caramel corn.
Right.
I've been thinking about this fucking caramel corn since I was in like grade 3 or 4. It's been that long.
I feel like I also have a similar experience because I also am like, oh, warm caramel corn. Like I know I probably shouldn't because like that's where like they put razor blades in, but oh man, it'd be worth it for a cut up mouth just for a taste of it. All right,
risk it. I would risk it for the biscuit on that one.
So Halloween, walking around, Tyson's got caramel corn, sticky fingers. He's James Bond, but Halloween's not complete. Can't just go home, do his post trick-or-treating movie until he pulls a prank. That's the most quintessential. So what's the best Halloween prank? Stealing other kids' candies or ding dong ditch?
I don't really steal. I'm not about that. James Bond don't steal. So I'm probably more likely to ding dong ditch.
Okay,
but we always tried that when we were kids. But we lived in the middle of nowhere, so odds are no one was home.
And we weren't fast enough to ring a doorbell and then get up like a 200-meter driveway.
And before you can get to shelter, it's like it's never gonna happen.
They just like let their dog out and they're like, "You're dead." And you're like, "Fuck, god damn it." Okay, awesome. So ding dong ditch is the winner, but also on Halloween, it's kind of like lame because they're expecting to be at the door. You also have to be fast that night, though. Right? So
true. Really got to get your cardio in.
Okay, so the other options of the other bracket are toilet papering a house or hanging off a train bridge.
Hanging off a train bridge seems incredibly dangerous. But doable.
Yeah.
And then toilet papering a house is a classic. I've never done it.
Okay.
but I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I think I'm gonna go with toilet paper in a house on this one. I just train safety kids, don't want to encourage no bad habits.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So we'll go with littering over potentially life-ending decisions.
Okay, so now you have a choice between ding-dong ditching someone or toilet papering a house. What are you going to choose?
If it's somebody you're trying to get back at, I think you toilet paper their house.
Okay.
But if it's somebody you kind of like, you ding dong ditch them.
Okay.
Because it's like, who cares? Even though people have been shot for playing that stupid game.
Oh.
So maybe toilet papering the house is just the safer decision. You can do this in the middle of the night. Nobody's around.
And just like your history of like the trauma that comes with things. Okay, toilet papering a house. Perfect. Awesome. Great. So now you're done. You're home. Your Halloween post trick or treat candy coma movie. What do you got? You got time for one of these bad boys. Are you going to put on Ernest Scared Stupid or Hocus Pocus?
I do love me some Ernest Scared Stupid, so that one's definitely going to win this,
right.
this
So that's
side,
one of the
this
finals.
side.
Now, we got a play-in tournament on the second half of this bracket. We've got E.T. versus Poltergeist. What's the better Halloween trick-or-treat movie?
I think Poltergeist, even though E.T.'s quite freaky, but
When he goes trick-or-treating.
Yeah. But you know what? He's freaky,
Okay. Yeah, he's kind of freaky.
But I do always like Reese's Pieces because of E.T. So I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Carol Ann and like the scary little lady and the ghosts are like, eh.
They're terrifying.
Okay.
That's why in my mind I'm thinking I'm going to go with Poltergeist because I'm like,
scary.
That's a great franchise. I think even if it's like that second or third one where the guy like jumps off the bridge into the pool or jumps off the like balcony into the pool and falls off the apartment building, you're like, it's a damn scary scene. I remember it as a kid.
Okay. Now Poltergeist has to go up against Halloween. So last night we actually babysat. It was a Saturday, so I made sure to drink. I guess I didn't have premarital sex, but I did drugs and I was babysitting, and like no one came and like tried to kill me, so I was pretty disappointed. But Halloween, but Michael Myers versus Poltergeist. Well, ghosts. What's a better trick or treat movie?
Halloween dies or Evil Dies Tonight. As long as it's not that one. No, the first Halloween movie is epic. It's so good. It's a masterpiece. Starts that whole that theme song by itself is just like, this is Halloween. I gotta go with Halloween. I like that first movie. First one and second one, excellent. Everything else past that, pass.
Okay, that's fair. So then what'd you go with? Halloween
versus Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one because, if I'm thinking I want an actual scary movie, I'll watch some Halloween. But if I'm scratching that nostalgia itch, I'm going Ernest Scared Stupid. And I think if it was knowing me, I got my track down the best caramel popcorn in my James Bond suit, just toilet papered some enemy's house. I'm watching Ernest Scared Stupid.
That's fair. You gotta kind of bring down the high a little bit and the thrills of what you've experienced this evening. So awesome, cool. So that was your perfect little Halloween. What a fun game to play on this Halloween.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Eve. Scary movies, good times. Scary games, I guess that was. So sweet. So that we're done. Month of Mario next month. We'll get in some Mario games and go from there.
Yeah. I know it's gonna be a ways before we play another scary game, which is always tragic.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part about Spooky Scary Month, is to see it go for another year.
It's true. And we can't play Resident Evil 4 before next Halloween, so what are we going to do?
No, we can't do it.
No.
It has to be on Spooky Scary Month.
Yeah, true. Sweet. So that wraps up this month's special, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for, I think we're playing Wario Land 3 for the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Cool. Sick.
Should be good.
All right. I'll see you guys then.
Take care.
Bye.